Beloved Creator of all that is, this world of duality we find ourselves in offers us many challenges. It also offers us growth because of the challenges. We see differences, we form opinions, we take sides. We know also of the challenge of what we feel with our heart versus our mind, which can often be at odds with that which is outside of us rather than our inner knowing. Rather now, we choose no more war, no more duality of head versus heart, no more division among the people from those who continually impose it on us. We come now to claim and decide a course of action that is inspired by our heart connection, the tone of this singing bowl, the heart chakra, and by that of our spirit, which is that part of you, O Creator. And so it is.
Thank you, Charlie.
My pleasure.
My name's Ron Vroman. I'm the old man talking head for the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. I'm here with Charlie and William. Would you guys introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Charlie White. I'm with the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. We've been really involved in all kinds of activities. We've done 2 trials on Salem, and we are doing follow-up with all kinds of growing numbers of assembly members.
And I'm William Appel in Portland, Oregon. I'm part of the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly technical team.
Okay, I got a little script here. I want to read through this and then discuss it. It should go pretty good. I will try not to be too controversial or divisive. Definitions, differences, comparisons, and juxtapose. Good and evil. There is a lot of room between good and evil. I was told once there was no such a thing as evil. It was just a human norm. De facto and de jure, that can also be law and color of law. Attorneys and lawyers. In Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court makes attorneys, not the bar, so I'm told. On Oregon, we have an Oregon Bar Association. They will not agree that they are affiliated with the British Accreditation Registry, BAR. The Oregon Bar gives new members the choice of JD, Juris Doctor, or Esquire. So, how do they confer a title of nobility, Esquire, if they have no authority? They are precluded from that in our constitutions. Written into Oregon's constitutions, there are 2 judiciary articles, both Article 7, one original, one amended. There is no one populating original. The de facto does theirs in color of law in amended. Article 7 amended was placed in our Constitution without one vote being counted. There are citizens with the capital C and there are citizens with the small c. There is inhabitants and peaceful inhabitants. There are state nationals and state citizens. There are foreign agents, both registered and unregistered. There are free men, women, and children, and there are United States citizens. Residence is a tricky word. Be careful when a cop or other asks if you are a resident or if this is the address of your residence. There are several classifications of passports. On the cards, passport cards, there are 1 through 5 stars, each with a meaning. and they're reluctant to tell us what the meanings are. In the Real ID Act of 2005, there are citizens and nationals. However, the DOJ executive offices in D.C., their FOIA desk, will not define them. Many people I know say, be inclusive. Division separates us, and we cannot get enough traction. That sounds true, but it's not correct. Inclusivity, is that a word? Brings in agent provocateurs. I'm for judgmental and critical. I declare judge everything and know where you stand on all major issues. If I look at a subset of persons, such as Antifa, communists, socialists, and many others, I've already made that decision. I can chuck them into bad and process them on out to evil in many cases. A republic or democracy or theocracy or monarchy or martial law, socialist, communist, and so forth. Yes, there are republics in name only. A preponderance of evidence or insufficient evidence. Lawful and legal, simulating a legal act or doing a lawful act. Facts, factoids, evidence, and facts. Affidavits are for corporate de facto, not men and women. We use living testimony in the form of an affidavit of truth. There are several types of affidavits: liars, prevaricators, and obfuscate. He who can be deceived, let him. And what then if you are no longer deceived? All cops know who the bad cops are. If you speak up or stand up, you get no backup. Therefore, they all close ranks with the thin blue line around the bad cops. There are no good cops, only those that wish they were good, misprison of felony. Now, I'd like to go back over some of these, and if anybody's got anything they'd like to jump in with, please do. On the first one, good and evil, and there's a lot of room between good and evil. Yeah, I think so. There's people that do bad but aren't evil. And where does willfully wicked come in on that scale? They're definitely not good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think evil would be defined by somebody that does an act, whether they realized or not that it was going to do harm, and sit there and watches somebody be harmed by it. And then when somebody speaks up about it, abuses that person too. I think that's flat out evil.
Yeah, that is one definition of evil. Yeah, I agree with that. But there's a lot of room between bad and evil. I did a lot of bad things when I was a kid growing up. I mean, we did some bad stuff, but we didn't do evil. Somehow I was saved from that upbringing or whatever. I don't know for sure. But I didn't do evil and I didn't hang with kids that did evil. And it's been that way in my adult life too. I leave evil alone. I denounce it. I point right at it and declare it. Pisses people off. But I still say there's a lot of room between good and evil. And the guy that once told me that evil was just one of the norms of being a human, that's not true. There's a lot of evil people, but that's not a norm. That's like saying people with kidneys that are bifurcated, which is a norm, is the same as people with kidneys that aren't bifurcated. they're both normal, but that's entirely different from declaring evil as being normal. It's not. Evil is evil, and you can see it, you can smell it. Once you've identified it, stay the hell away from it.
That definition of normal is a horrible thing to use too, because we see the doctors, the lawyers, industries, they all use that word normal, and really it's all about statistics. So, okay, 100 years ago, the normal was this direction, and now today it's this other direction. But that doesn't make it right or wrong because of the norm, right?
Yep.
So we can't call things normal really and call that good. It's just statistically obvious that more people do this now than they did before. Or maybe they've always done it that way. And there's other things outside the norm, and of course they'll use that to abuse us through the laws and all that stuff. Well, most people think that it's okay to, obey certain rules on the road, and these other people don't, and it's a smaller amount of people, so we're going to persecute those people because they don't think that they should have to stop for 2 seconds or whatever it is and then proceed through the intersection. When you can, it's an open road, you can see for freaking miles in all the directions. Why would you ever even stop at the stop sign if you can see 2 miles that way and 2 miles that way and 2 miles ahead of you, and you can see there's nobody there, and then you pull through there and you didn't see that officer that was sitting behind the tree right there, and he comes pulling out and giving you a ticket at midnight or whatever, for not stopping at the stop sign when there was actually no logical reason to do it.
Well, I got a question for you. If you were out in that situation and you looked 2 miles that way and 2 miles that way and you didn't see a cop or any reason to stop, but you didn't stop, and as soon as you didn't stop, you got a ticket, how in the hell come you didn't see?
He was hiding behind the damn tree.
Oh, I see.
You know how
Yeah.
it is, right?
Yeah. I didn't even put right and wrong on this when I was doing
Exactly.
definitions.
So I personally won't stop at that sign. Under those circumstances, I won't do it. Why should I? I have a need to get from point A to point B without a delay, and stopping right there under those circumstances would be a delay.
And I look at it the other way, and I'll stop, I'll look both directions, and then I'll go and bust a red light. It's just, are you a different norm than I am?
But it doesn't make it right or wrong, right?
No, it doesn't. It makes us different.
You get into an accident going through the intersection because I didn't get in an accident going through the stop sign. So where was the harm being done?
There is no harm being done there. And in the de jure, you would never be in any kind of trouble. Only in the de facto would you be in trouble.
And they'll use those statistics against us so they can justify bringing in revenues. If enough people gripe and if that they got tickets for doing that, then that would end, because that's how they run. You have the naggers sitting there going, nag, 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 nag. Please stop these people from doing this thing. I don't care if it's harming anybody or not. Just stop doing it. Stop letting them get away with this thing. And then all of a sudden there's this freaking law or a police officer, and they'll even put a damn tree or a sign up there for the officer to hide behind. They'll build those little junctions so that can happen.
Yes.
Or they'll take the car and they'll make the car so it appears to not be a police car. And then when you do it, they'll all of a sudden pop their lights on, and you're like, well, wait a second, I didn't see an officer. So now they're actually acting like they're thieves in the night, performing basically or literally armed robbery on the highway, what do they call it? Highway robbery, right there in the middle of the freaking night, when there was no reason for it.
Other than to collect revenue.
Yep.
And meet quotas.
Yeah. Quotas are another one, aren't they? Okay. how do we deal with the difference between people that lie, people that are prevaricators or obfuscate? Do we have to make differentiations on that,
It's
or
all the same.
can we just lump them into liars?
It's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they make all these words up so that you can shade it. I looked up prevaricators and obfuscate, and under neither one does it say liar.
Mhm.
So I think that that's more of deception that they pour into us and train us with. And I had a bit of a problem with the guy just last week where I called somebody a liar, and that was not the thing to do, according to him. And that must be removed. I found that difficult because if they're lying, and they should be called out. It should be pointed out to people. It should not be covered up, or if you cover it up, then you're acquiescing to lying, and boy, that's got to be really close to
Yeah,
evil, don't
well,
you think?
like I pointed out, I think that the reality is if somebody comes out and says something like that, then the thing would be to go, okay, Ron, what is this lie? Let us be informed. Maybe we can learn from this experience. I mean, it's really a school that we're doing here, every day in and out of this law scenario that we're in, de facto, de jure, all that stuff. So if you claim that a person's out there claiming to be right about a subject and you say, hey, you're a liar, that person should even go, wait a second here. What do you mean I'm a liar? Show me this. What subject are we talking about? And then have a discussion, a debate. When we think of lately we've had the same kind of issue going on with the USA Republic and them trying to stop people from arguing on the phone calls. And I know for a fact that it took weeks to create the Constitution back in 1776 because of the arguments that we're having in that. I mean, you're talking about major business here about, you know, right and wrong and our God-given rights versus the rights that the people should have, because we just kind of generally think it should be there. All that kind of stuff should be debated and not thrown under the rug. And if we're trying to store the republic anywhere in this on this continent here, we should be open for debate on every single piece of this until it's gone, gone, gone. Not until somebody just says, "Okay, I'm just tired of hearing you talk." It should never be that way.
It's
Maybe
a,
they create a whole a committee to go over that one particular subject where there was a problem, and not just go, "Okay, we're done with this. We're not going to have any arguments here." If everybody doesn't just agree, then we're going to kick the people out that don't agree anymore. And I think that's what we have today in the de facto, is that we've been muffled, we've been muted for decades now. Anytime that we speak up, they'll throw us in prison, they'll kill us, they'll take away our right to make money to feed our families because we don't agree with them.
Well, I think what we're dealing with, if I may say so, is the cognitive dissonance of the lie that we have lived with for generations. So you can take it back to the Constitution and the need for us to continually be aware of those dates and the people who were involved in creating our original Constitution versus the persons who came in and altered it. And then from then, increment by increment, bit by bit, and allowing either the omission or the lie or the prevarication or whatever you want to call it, we've gotten further and further and further away from the essence of what was initially given to us, not by our Creator, but our Creator who helped those craft the original. So cognitive dissonance is so significantly big. This is what you're talking about, because there's no evidence that you can break into that lie when it's believed for generations.
Well, to move back to the point that William was making about the Republic, I have here the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union, the Constitution of the United States of America, and Oregon's Constitution. Those are the laws on Oregon. You and I can't change them. The legislator can't change them. Judges can't change them. Governors can't change them. Presidents can't change them. Those are changed in a specific manner. And until they're changed, that's what we've got. However good or however bad it is, that's what we've got. And if people have to spend a lot of time talking about banking, which is a subject that has no business in here at all. We know money is gold and silver, and that's all there is to it. Anything else is something else. And we've had nothing but trouble with banks and nothing but trouble with attorneys. And every time you turn around and you look in these documents, it tells you you're going to have nothing but trouble with attorneys and nothing but trouble with royalty and titles of nobility, and it's going to be a mess. And the first thing that they can do when they get a chance is the military makes all of their officers gentlemen by an act of Congress, a title of nobility for the officer class in the military. That's peculiar. And that same type of thought goes with bar attorneys who get the title of Esquire, another title of nobility. And people, I wanted to join a YouTuber the other day, and you know who it is, William. And I wanted to use his service, but his email response to me, he titled himself Sir. Oh, yeah? Well, that's nice. You title yourself a Sir. In our one class society, you give yourself a title of nobility, and then you want to deal with me? No way in hell is that going to work. But that's what people are doing. And I've listened to those calls on the Republic. You got people there that have never read the documents that they're talking about and discussing. You have people there, knowledgeable people, that write documents and write the documents with the wrong names. Now, you just can't do that. It's just like when you see Anna von Ritz write something and she writes the United States of America with the small t when it should be with the large T. She knows the difference, and she's not using her knowledge. She's obfuscating. She's lying. And that's what those people are doing when they get into these nitpicking little situations. First thing you have to do is you have to return your state to a constitutional Republican form of government. If you can't get that done, then you have no business talking about trying to reform the United States. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So on that, if we do not restore each and every state that has a contract with the other states back to a Republican form of government, we actually have no standing with the other states, correct?
Well, I'm not sure.
Isn't it? It's guarantees of a Republican form of government, and if we deviated from that, then how are we even part of the union anymore?
Well, there's the court of public opinion in there somewhere, and I'm not sure how that court functions. But when
you know that's controlled by the media, right?
Well, before there was ever a media, there was a court of public opinion, and I'm not sure how to deal with that, but Oregon was, always will be an independent nation, and it was received and made a nation by other nations and recognized as such in 1859. So that much is the deal. There is an entity named Oregon that is one of the several states of the Union that is where I live. Oregon's a nation. Now, it needs nothing else from any other nation or any other state to enter into that domain. It's already there. Our, quotes, forefathers brought that to us. However they happened to do it, however good or bad or whatever happened, and there was a lot of bad that went on making Oregon a state. That's for sure. But whatever it is, that's what we have. We also have the state of Oregon that was manufactured out of thin air by Frank Benson, and that was in 1910.
That's the incorporation?
Well, there's another thing. I'm not sure of the incorporation because I've never seen the paperwork, and Oregon will not show the paperwork, and neither will the National Archives, and neither will the Library of Congress. So neither will the Department of Justice.
And Milt claims to have the EIN numbers or something for all the corporation governments inside of or in the state or on the state, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, Milt may have those. Milt probably has a lot of good documentation, but until we have access to it, it's just hearsay. But we know that Oregon was made a state in 1859 by the several states. That much we know. We don't have the contract in hand, but that doesn't mean that it didn't happen and it's not there, and there is one somewhere. Now, when Oregon became a state, it was a contract. So then there's three entities there. There's Congress assembled of the United States of America as styled by the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union. That is an entity for sure. That entity, made up of 13 other entities, created another entity called the United States. The United States is in D.C., and it has enumerated responsibilities and zero power because all power is inherent in the people. We delegated to the United States certain functions, and they're responsible for those functions. And they turned around and turned it into an incorporation. So I understand. But it was corporate because it was a business. It had to have an entity and it had to act like a government, so it was corporate. But it wasn't incorporated. From what I understand, it incorporated, some say with the Vatican, some say in Delaware. Who knows? I don't. Haven't seen the document. But some say it was incorporated. But I did get a piece of paper from
And incorporation means part of something larger, right?
where you give away your autonomous being, your sovereignty to somebody else who eliminates your personal responsibilities to that corporation.
That's right. And now that they have defaulted on their contracts to us, our sovereignty is all we have left. Citizenship is abolished.
Thank you, Cheryl. I think that was correct. You got anything else to say?
Nah, I just felt the need.
Ah, come on. Okay, so now about Oregon and the other several states. If Oregon is a state, and it's the last of the several states, because when you read these documents here, it says exactly how things are supposed to happen. And if they don't happen that way, well, then you do not have lawful. You have some kind of color of law. And that's what we've had. So there are actually 33 states. I will stick my hand in fire on that one. There are 33 lawful states. Oregon was the last one. And the reason for that is before Lincoln ever took office as president, one of the Carolinas had already seceded. Just by the fact that he was elected, one of the Carolinas said, "We're out of here." And they seceded from the Union before Lincoln ever took office. A lot of people don't know that one. That's true. Therefore, that Carolina was one of the several states that was one of the several states when Oregon became one of the several states, and there was never that group again after sine die. Sine die is when they closed Congress because they didn't have a quorum. So now, if you don't get those original 33 states back together in a group lawfully, doesn't have to be legal because there hasn't been lawful since 1861. So all power is inherent in the people, and whatever we say goes, as long as you're reasonable and proper in what you're doing. So then, if those 33 states gather together a quorum of those 33 states, and that's about what, 20 states? The correct 20 states. That correct 20 states, or however many it is, 21, that group, that quorum is the United States of America, the forming founding group of the United States of America and the United States. So that group can do anything they want lawfully. That group has to meet and start lawful again and get rid of the deception and the fraud of the de facto. But all of those that I hear talking, Anna, NLA, Living's Way, the Republic, they all say there's 50 states. Well, how in the hell can there be 50 states if we haven't had law since 1861? And when you read the Constitution, it says Virginia has to agree to make West Virginia, and there's no documentation anywhere that Virginia agreed to that. And Nevada never qualified to be a state. They bought their way in with silver, and Lincoln needed silver, so they made Nevada a state. And it's been rolling like that unlawfully ever since.
Color of law.
Yep. So you got anything you want to say on that, Charlie or Cheryl?
Well, I kind of do. I would like some more information on the second Congress being ratified in.
The second Congress?
Yes,
Are you
they
talking about
ratified. What?
talking about the de facto one in the 1800s?
Yes.
No, 1871, right? Ron?
Bogus. Bogus.
Yeah, that's the one that was pulled in by Lincoln, right?
Yep. Are we
So how
talking?
did he do that? Can you walk through how he actually got that done?
Are we
I
talking
can.
about? Are we talking about Congress or are we talking about Constitution?
Well, I can tell you about the time when he broke the quorum back in 1839 in the Illinois House. They had a special sessions, and everyone planned to vote on the Democratic bill to require the state central banks to make payments in gold and silver rather than paper money. The Whig Party strongly opposed the idea, led by Republican Abraham Lincoln, decided on the spot that the best way to kill the proposal was to deny the majority Democrats a quorum. So they left the building. The Second Presbyterian Church in Springfield, but two members required under law back then to demand a quorum call be made. Lincoln and another House Whig, Joseph Gillespie, walked into the chambers and made the motion. No quorum was present and a vote could not be taken. The next day, though, Lincoln and the Whigs made the same attempt, but the House Speaker ordered the doors locked behind them and summoned two members who had previously been too ill to attend the session. And now a quorum was formed because they locked him in there. So when Lincoln realized there was a problem, and he and the other Whigs started jumping out the window trying to halt the vote, but the quorum was already certified and the Whigs lost.
Sounds like the same thing that happens in Salem right now.
Yep. History is just repeating itself. This is all that's happening. You can look at examples of other times that we've been tried to take over. History is repeating itself.
Yep, the divide and conquer plan.
One of those guys said the tree of liberty has to be watered by the blood of tyrants and patriots every once in a while. That's pretty close. I don't know exactly who said it, but that's close.
I'd like to ask a question regarding the flag. The flag behind you, for example, Ron, has the 50 states, and it's a peace flag. And what about the relevance of these 33 states versus the 50 that are represented on the flag, for example?
Okay. There's a YouTuber named Jen West that did a really good show on the flag. And the flag is a national ensign, and the stripes run horizontally in the national ensign. And that's the flag of the revolution. Betsy Ross made it that way with the 13 stars. And then that became the national ensign, not our flag, but the national ensign, the military flag. And whether it has a gold fringe around it or no gold fringe around it, that's still the national ensign, the military flag. The flag behind me, to the best of my knowledge, is a freelance adaptation of another flag that is not the national ensign and is an attempt at a peace flag. And they sell it as a peace flag, and I bought it as that. But it has no actual standing in the de facto or in the de jure, because the de jure has to get back to a quorum pre-1860 before we can get anything done about making that flag legitimate or lawful or a peace flag.
Thank you. Go ahead, William.
Yeah, so I've also heard that flag called the civilian flag or the civil flag. I think it's also kind of used by some other division of the government way back. What was that part of the government? Like the
import-export duty houses in the bay, you said, in the ports.
Yep, that's right, exactly.
Yep.
So it's a good representation, for us to use to be civil. But yeah, you're right. There's no officiality to it. So having 33 on there or 50 on there is really irrelevant, I think, at this point. But
Well, I mean, if we're choosing detail and we're wanting to take things back to original, and we're honoring that which was in agreement as lawful states, shouldn't it actually be 33 instead of 50 stars?
Yeah. Well, I put on our Facebook page, if you look at the top of that page, you'll see that I have one of the original 33 star flags on there on our website there. It doesn't look like this one. It's the military flag, but it does have the 33. And I figured that was a good place to put it on our site there. But it would take us, a designer and somebody to make the thing so we could put 33 on there. It's doable. We could do it.
Yep. Let's find the Betsy Ross of our generation and get it done.
Ryan's wife.
Okay.
There's lots of flag makers out there for sure. They'd be willing to do it for us for sure.
I wonder. I'm ready to wrap it up.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
All right. So we want everybody to go to our website. You can also go to Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly.org, or for short, orsja.org. They'll take you to the same place. Click on the links to YouTube or Brighteon, Facebook. You can find some documents on there. We're going to update some of those documents on there so you guys can look and see what we've been doing. There's a blog on there so you guys can follow us and find out where we're going to be next. Thank you very much.
They do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
And then the bullets started flying. Then he jumps out of the car. And he's got both his hands up. And he got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, just shoot me then. This is what you want, just shoot me. And they did. They shot him dead. With his hands in the air, and I saw it. I swear to God. He was just walking with his hands in the air. And they shot him. And they shot him dead, and then after he was down on the ground, shot him 3 more times.